The following is an exclusive presentation of WI Garden Media, the voice of Garden Talk Radio. The following is an exclusive presentation of WI Garden Media, the voice of Garden Talk Radio.
Coming up on the program today, we're going to discuss several of different types of gardening methods that you may not be aware of, as well as bad social media gardening tips, and we'll correct those. And our guest is new author Ashile Thomas will be with us, and we'll answer your garden questions. The hour is full, so join us.
You are listening to the most informationally packed hour of garden-focused radio in the country and on the internet with your host, husband and wife team Joey and Holly Baird. This is the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
And welcome to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. Happy you've taken time out of your day to join us on the program. I am your host, Joey Baird. Beside me is my wife, co-host, best friend, and gardening partner,
Holly Baird.
This program is for you, about you, to help your garden grow better, to maintain your landscape, grow healthier trees, make your grass look greener, as well as preserving what you grow. Happy you're tuned in, whether you're doing that on one of the 20 AM and FM frequencies broadcasting our program here in 2023, through a radio app, through our parent website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, under the Season 7 tab, or anywhere in between. Podcast replay, in-studio video replay. Thank you very much. If you want to be part of the program, you can do that in addition to listening by sending us an email to gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com. Or if you'd like to give us a call, it's toll-free, coast-to-coast at 1-800-927-SHOW. That's 1-800-927-7469. Miss any of that information, go to our parent website again, WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, and it's all right there. Well, we're going to get in the program here, and Holly, we're going to go over a number of different gardening methods that people may not be familiar with or have heard but don't quite fully understand the means or the methods to that particular type of gardening method.
Absolutely. And sometimes even maybe you might have heard the word, but you call it something else.
Right.
So we'll start with the most well-known.
Yeah, ground, raised bed, and containers.
Right.
Your big three there.
Sometimes people call containers growing them in pots.
In pots, yeah.
Pots.
It may be a regional or a geographical thing, like a country thing. That might, like a European. Europeans use terminology in gardening very different than what we do in the States.
Right. Yeah. Or they just, a container, maybe they think a container is like enclosed, like a food container or something. Right. So anyway, ground gardening, that's the probably the most well-known, where you take and you plant some plants in the ground. Most
cost-effective.
Yeah.
Assuming that you have done your due diligence and made sure there's no toxicity in the soil by getting a soil test from soilsavvy.com and making sure that we're all good, that we're not growing on a previous gas station a lot or some toxicity that has been dumped there.
Well, and say you move into a new home and the previous people had a garden.
Right.
Or something else, who knows. But that way you might then, not necessarily about the toxicity. I mean, you can find out about that, but that might be not be your concern. What your concern might be, is the soil viable? Is it going to support
what do I need
life?
To add to it to get it to where it needs to be?
Exactly. Same thing if you happen upon a house with raised beds in the back or wherever, and you moved in, you might not know what's in those raised beds.
Right. And the raised beds probably is one of the most instantaneous gardens, but can be more cost up front because you're constructing the raised beds, whether it's western red cedar, whether it's pine with some type of water-resistant coating on it, whether a paste or stain, or treated lumber, or you just take logs and throw down and make a square and put soil in it.
Right.
The soil is what's going to get you.
Exactly. Some people call those above ground gardens, or elevated or box gardens. I think.
I mean, elevated would be more
garden boxes.
Yeah, those would be more with the unit on legs, in which would be waist or chest high.
But I've said raised beds to people, and they literally think that it's like a garden bed that's raised, like high
on stilts.
Yeah.
Okay.
So something like an above ground garden can be a good term as well.
Obviously, the lumber is going to be will be expensive, and the soil is going to. Well, it's not expensive; it's an investment, and the soil will be an investment. However, you're going to you're going to get good soil if you get it from a reputable source. You're going to have an instantaneous garden. Boom, it's right there. You don't have to turn the soil over. You don't have to work the ground essentially to get that first year's gardening going. Like if you just went in the backyard like we did many years ago and just started flipping the sod over and creating a ground garden. Right. And that, I think another thing to think about is the upkeep. Yes.
So things like weeds, and then also the soil viability. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily upkeep for worms, but you want to make sure that the worms want to come hang out in your garden.
It's not a build it and walk away.
No, definitely not. And I think that's another thing is maybe the process of how you turn the soil over. Are you going to borrow your neighbor's or friend's tiller, or are you going to do it by shovel?
You're going to use the Mantis tiller, or you're going to do it by shovel. You're not going to do it at all. You're just going to do minimal soil disturbance. So container garden.
But are you going to do
it? Depends. Everybody has their own philosophy on what they feel is best.
So the container garden, a.k.a. growing in pots, growing in
grow bags from Root Maker.
Whatever. This is something that is good if maybe you want to try your hand at gardening for the first time, but you don't want to go in your backyard and turn over all the soil.
Right.
And you also don't want to build raised beds. Maybe you have a porch, patio, deck, something like that. Maybe you just you're like, I don't want these here. So
and Root Maker has very pleasing aesthetic grow bags from 1 to 60 gallons that have a white coating on it, so they look really nice.
And with Root Maker, you can save 15% off of your order using code radio23. And then with that, if you need seeds, because we're getting to that time, you can go to jungseed.com, JUNG seed.com, use code 10, like the number 10, TG23 to save 10%.
Yep. Save money on your purchases and get more in the ground. And containers can be anything from a grow bag to a bucket, anything but you want to have drainage. You just don't want to use a big Rubbermaid tub and not have any drainage, because then you have a swamp, bog, rot, and a mess.
Right. So, and you can go as simple as something like 5-gallon buckets.
Yes. Yep. You
can, again, get the Root Makers. You can go to your local garden center and buy the prettiest terracotta pots that you want.
With drainage.
But either way, you want to use drainage. And also you want to think about what you're growing in. So with that being said, you might think, I have these old tires. I'm going to grow my old tires. I wouldn't do that for vegetables, for anything edible.
Yeah.
But if you have some flowers you want to plant in there, I think that's perfectly fine. Same thing with 5-gallon buckets. You want to think about where they came from. You can either just get new ones from, the big box store, or if you have somebody who wants to pass them on, maybe only use ones that were used to store food items.
Delis and Chinese restaurants are good sources to find buckets at either free or very low cost, because they are bringing large quantities in 5-gallon buckets like soy sauce or pickles, in which you can get the buckets for very little. Hydroponic, aquaponic, people may get these or heard these and are confused by the terminology. Hydroponics, you're using nutrients in the water to grow the plants. Aquaponic, you're using fish waste pumped through the root system of the plant in order to feed the plant in order to get it to grow. And then some people will utilize the fish as food as well after a certain time frame. Sometimes it's tilapia is somewhat often a fish that is used in a hydroponic or an aquaponic system.
Right. And since the 90s are back,
yes,
there was a movie in the 90s where they built a place. It was a comedy movie, but they built a place that was self-sustaining.
In theory.
And there's a scene where they go, the fish, which means that they
do their business
in the water. And it's the concept of hydroponics.
Right.
So
if done correctly in both of these, hydroponic or aquaponic, it can be very successful, but you've got it. There's pH levels. You got to, it's a pH level.
I'm just saying hydroponics is not a new idea.
No, it's not. No. It's been around for quite some time.
And a lot of greens are growing that way. A lot of stuff in Canada is growing that way. So it is a great system. And there's also the passive
hydroponics.
Where
the
you
cracking
get the
method.
You get the little net cup. You get the little stone things.
Yeah, clay pellets or clay balls. Yeah.
And then you can grow it in a mason jar.
Right, mason jar, or in a Rubbermaid tub where you don't need a circulation of water. You put nutrients in the water and it's stagnant. You just let it sit there and grow.
Right.
There's a few more steps than that, but that's the concept of it.
Right. So there's lots of options there, and I think that, and then there's even different kits and whatnot you can purchase. But I think that a lot of people think gardening has to be A, dirty, B, complicated, C, take up a lot of space. But there's a lot of options if you don't want to. Right.
You've got another one is hugelkultur and straw bale gardening are two very unique aspects. You grow in a straw bale. There's a way of conditioning the straw bale in order to break down the internal properties of it in order to turn to soil so you can grow inside it or grow on the bale, and the inside of the bale feeds the plant. So that's one way of doing it. Hugelkultur is a totally different concept, and that involves logs and a lot of dirt.
Yes. Yep. So it's basically you're letting the log break down, and the log base becomes the
logs
humus, or logs becomes the growing humus, and that's the hugelkultur. I think it's a neat concept. It's something that I know I would like to try. And then the straw bale gardening is a similar concept because you're letting the straw break down to become the humus for growing things, vegetables, plants, etc. And then when these things are spent, when the log is spent, it just decays back into the earth. And then same thing with the straw bale. So it's in a way almost a zero waste concept. Not quite, but close.
And with hugelkultur, you can have big logs and covered with a mound of soil, or and it can be 2 foot or 3 foot tall, or it can be 15 and 20 foot tall, and you're growing in the hillside of the dirt, and the moisture goes in the hill, absorbed by the log releases as soil needs as the log rots, it becomes a sponge and gives and takes. And I've seen them 30 foot tall and a big hill, and I've seen them very small. So it's a very unique concept that if you have the capabilities to doing either manual or mechanically, it is a way to be sustainable in the watering concept of almost a no water system, no watering needed by you system.
And it's because it's that big sponge,
right?
And that's something to definitely keep in mind.
And this is just some of dozens of methods of gardening. So just because you may be gardening in a way in which we didn't cover doesn't mean that yours doesn't matter at all. Also, what matters, Holly, is what Walton's Incorporated has for us and our listeners.
Absolutely. So we are brought to you today by Walton's, our sponsor. Listen, we know you care about where your food comes from. Canning and preserving your fruits and vegetables is great, but what about the meat? At Walton's, you can get all the equipment, seasoning, and supplies to make sausage, jerky, and any other meat product your way to your high standards. Do you want to make snack sticks that people will actually like?
That you like?
Or you like? Or your family? Maybe just you. Walton's created meatgistics.com. They have over 15,000 users to help you find out the whys and hows of meat processing. And then if you also go on their website, you'll find meat grinders, sausage stuffers, mixers, spices, etc. Everything that you need for processing, everything but the meat. You can use code GROW50, GROW50 to save 10% off orders of $50 or more. That's waltonsinc.com.
When we come back, it's about bad social media tips that you've probably seen and done, and we'll correct them. You're tuned into the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Got a question for Joey and Holly? Send it via email anytime to gardentalkradio@gmail.com.
Grip 6 produces American-made products with sleek designs and quality materials. Based and manufactured in Utah, they have high-quality and durable products that last a lifetime. They're built beyond tough. Their wool socks come from Rocky Mountain-sourced materials, are soft and comfortable, keep your feet warm and dry, and come with a lifetime guarantee. Even for the most sensitive toes, these socks are made for everyone. High-quality wool socks make a huge difference for happy feet. They fit in with all the many things you do from around the house to the outdoors and beyond. They are comfortable and long-lasting. These socks are great for gardening because they keep your feet so comfortable no matter the conditions outside. It's hard to overstate how amazing these feel to have warm, dry feet as you work in your garden. Designed and manufactured in-house for the best results and quality every time. When you purchase from Grip 6, you're supporting long life cycle products and American-made manufacturing. Check out their belts, wallets, and socks at grip6.com. Use coupon code RADIO15 to save 15% off your order at grip6.com.
Tree Hugger sprinklers are the ultimate watering device for either your newly planted or established trees and shrubs. Our sprinklers open and close around the trunk of your tree and provide 360 degrees of watering. With our adjustable valve, you can direct the water to your tree's targeted saturation zone. They come in 3 sizes, 7, 11, and 15 inches. You can purchase a Tree Hugger sprinkler at your local garden center, feed store, or hardware store. Go to treehuggersprinklers.com to find a retailer close to you. Or you can buy it directly from Amazon or treehuggersprinklers.com. If you're an independent nursery, garden center, hardware store, or feed store, you will want to stock this product. Contact the good people at Tree Hugger Sprinklers and they will get you set up. Your tree's best friend. treehuggersprinklers.com.
Wind River Chimes creates a symphony in any space. Chimes that are inspired by nature and designed to make the natural world even more inspiring. Music speaks to everyone. Individually handcrafted in Virginia for over 35 years and hand-tuned for an exceptional precision and lasting beauty. Because in life, the winds of change are always moving. But no matter where they carry you, Wind River Chimes will always be the inspiring harmony. With a large selection and customization options, you will find the sound that soothes you. Visit windriverchimes.com to shop and find out more.
Rootmaker starts your plants off right and keeps them going through harvest. From their seed starting trays with an innovative design that air prunes the roots to their large variety of grow bags, 1 to 60 gallons. Their products will provide you the harvest you've never seen before. Visit rootmaker.com and use coupon code RADIO23 to save 15% off your order at rootmaker.com.
Dig planting holes from a comfortable standing position. Step, twist, pull, and plant. Visit ProPlugger.com.
Happy Leaf LED grow lights are USA made in small batches for outstanding performance and long-run cost effectiveness. 5-year warranty and VIP customer service. Grow happy at HappyLeafLED.com. Use coupon code JoeyHolly to get 10% off any order over $90 at HappyLeafLED.com. Blue Ribbon Organics, providing locally made organic compost and soil blends for gardeners, farms, landscaping, and more. To find our products nearest you, visit BlueRibbonOrganics.com. The Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show is brought to you by the following: Dripworks, Rise Gardens, Grip 6, Bloomin' Easy, Fleet Farm, Waltons Incorporated, Blue Ribbon Organics, Tree Diaper. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support. Welcome back to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. Happy you are with us today. Farm Defense has the products that can make your time in the garden, on the farm, harvesting a lot more enjoyable.
Farm and garden in the ultimate comfort. Farmers Defense has lightweight and durable sleeves made to protect you against the elements while farming. Farmer sleeves offer unparalleled protection of arms and skin for any farmer, gardener, or outdoor worker. Say goodbye to irritated skin and sunburns in the garden. Their sleeves offer cooling comfort and protection against the elements outdoors, an alternative to thick clothing. Farmer's Defense is made of wicking material with UBF protection factor of 50 plus to protect you from allergens and scratches. You can find all their great products and more at farmersdefense.com.
So when it comes to the internet can be a wonderful tool or a very dangerous accessory.
They have computers on the internet. Internet on the computers.
You messed the joke up. They have the internet on computers now. Homer Simpson says.
Yeah.
It can be good for many different things, but also it can be very dangerous because anybody that has access to it can just punch anything on a keyboard, and sometimes people believe it.
And if it goes viral for whatever reason, then people believe it more. So that's dangerous too. So especially when it comes to things like gardening or anything where it's almost it is a science-based, and you have to be a little bit careful. Now, with everything, you have to be super careful, no, but if you are trying to invest your time wisely in gardening, you want to be careful.
Right. So 50 to 60% of the people with a keyboard, they put out information because they just don't realize it's incorrect. This is my opinion. This is my statistic. So take that for what it's worth. I think about 50 to 60% of the people share information because that's what they were told. And they just, hey, somebody's looking for it, I'll share it. 20% of the people have a keyboard in front of them, and whether they know that it is incorrect, but they go ahead and put it out anyway to get the clicks, to get the ad sent, to get you to look at an ad on whatever platform in which they are trying to get you to go to. So keep that in mind. When people throw something out, make sure it's a trusted source. Make sure you trust the person or trust where you can find it. And I've told it on this program, not this year as well as past years. We have a platform here in order to help you grow a garden better. We do this in order to make your experience more enjoyable, and do check what we have to say. Double check, triple check what we have to say to make sure that we are telling you the correct thing.
Well, right, and that's something that's important to us, is just making sure we're using smart resources and
reliable
resources, and not just like, this person Katie down the street with her garden blog said that aphids don't like, because
every time you click on her site, she gets a nickel for the ads.
Right, exactly.
So let's see how many we can get through here.
Okay, so the one that is your favorite is the potato tower.
Potato tower. The concept is you take 4 square feet, you build a box, you fill it with soil, you put potatoes at the bottom, and because they're indeterminate potatoes, they will grow 100 pounds of potatoes in a 4 square foot box that's 4 foot tall. This is a garden myth. This doesn't work, but boy, people like sharing this concept on social media. There's grow towers. This is you put 1 layer at the bottom, you fill it with soil, and they will and as the potatoes grow, you continue to add the sides and more soil, and by the time you're done, it will have grown out of the box, and you dig the box open and there's 100 pounds of potatoes. There is a lot of videos on the internet of people building these and telling how wonderful it's going to be, and there is a lot of disappointing follow-up videos, or none at all, saying that they made 100 pounds because it's not possible. If you do this in layers, it is more feasible, where you do 1 layer, let them grow, put the soil down, put another layer, let them grow, put another layer, et cetera, et cetera. So you have multiple stories of potatoes in this tower, and you've got different layers growing. That is more, and you can do this in like a potato tower with straw and soil too. That's different.
I think one of the biggest things is if somebody shows you something on YouTube or wherever, and
nobody, not just that person, but nobody has a video showing the success.
Right. That's the thing, is that if you see it on any social media platform, I would look for the results video or the success
from
video,
somebody.
Or this is the amazing harvest I got, and I would probably look for more than one video, because people can deceive you or do whatever they want on social media. So they might have gone to the store and bought 50 pounds of potatoes and tossed them in the soil.
Right.
I certainly hope not, but yeah, I would just think about that. Yes, this seems too good to be true. There's one video about it and there's no follow-up. It is too good to be true.
Using coffee grounds to acidify your soil. This is another very popular garden tip on social media that is incorrect.
We fell for this. Well, I think it was coffee, though.
Years and years ago, until we found the information out. Use coffee grounds. The grounds themselves the acidity has been brewed out of them. They do contain about 2% nitrogen, 0.5% phosphorus, 0.5% potassium after the brewing process. But the concept that you can acidify your soil, make your blueberries better, make your this better and that better, it does not hold any merit when it comes to scientists proving the acidity has been brewed out during the concept or during the coffee making process. It's great food for worms. It's great organic material for your raised beds, your containers, your ground, but it does not change the acidity at all in your garden.
Yeah, absolutely not. And that's something to remember, is that it's not going to have a huge impact. There's one that I've seen, I think pretty recently, is you take banana peels, you put them in water for a few weeks, right? Then that water will feed your plants, I think it's potassium.
Yes.
Yeah, potassium. Now, this is a great idea in theory. It's very popular. You might see it on certain quick social media videos. However, there's no science behind it. Will the water have more potassium in it? Yes. But it's so minuscule that it's not going to have an impact on your plants.
Wasting it's better to just buy a fertilizer that has potassium than to do this whole route of doing the bananas.
I mean, if it makes you feel good, I guess do it.
Put the bananas in the compost or bury them in the ground.
Yeah, put them in the compost. You could do it and then put the bananas in the compost and use it to water your plants if it makes you feel good. But like Joey said, you want to just purchase a potassium fertilizer. Epsom
salt is the fix to end all. Everything that's wrong with your garden, use Epsom salt and that will fix it. Epsom salt is magnesium sulfate. People will say, blossom in rot, add Epsom salt and water it in. Magnesium sulfate and calcium deficiency, which is what the tomatoes have at blossom in rot, are two different elements on the periodic table. And if you have element A and element B, which are very different, you can't add one to fix the other one. It doesn't work. So it doesn't fix the problem. What is occurring is you're adding Epsom salt, which is magnesium sulfate. The plant picks it up. It is an element in all plant life and human life. But you're watering, which is the deficiency that the plant is experiencing. Because the ground is so dry, it can't pick up the necessary calcium in order to develop the tomato correctly. So proper watering can greatly reduce about 98% of all blossom in rot problems. There is times where you might have a calcium deficiency, but 98% of the other time it is because your inconsistent watering is causing the plant to have the undeveloped or blackened fruit or the blackened portion on the bottom of the fruit of the tomato. So, does Epsom salt have any benefit to the garden whatsoever? Should you use Epsom salt? The real simple answer is get a soil test from Soil Savvy to figure out if you are having a magnesium deficiency. And then it will tell you, the soil test will tell you how much magnesium you need to add. Whether you choose to use Epsom salt for that or not, that is up to you. But Epsom salt is not the fix-all to end all, and adding too much Epsom salt can disrupt your pH level. And that can be a whole nother set of problems in which you're dealing with in your garden.
Yes, definitely. And the thing is that there's a lot of science to gardening, and if you're sure that something is going to work, but there's no science behind it, then that doesn't really make a lot of sense. Now, not to say that adding your own compost to your soil, but that's again science. So. And if you are adding something to your soil and watering it in, the water is the answer.
I'm sure your great-grandmother was a wonderful person, and she was doing this particular whatever it is for 87 and a half years and always had a bumper crop of green beans. That doesn't mean that there is evidence that what she was doing had any direct result to why the green beans were so wonderful.
Right. So one thing I do want to talk about that's become another popular thing is starting seeds in eggshells or egg cartons, because it looks cute, and
Pinterest.
Then you can gram it, and yes, it does look cute. You can gram it, but then once that
Instagram, people may not know what Instagram.
I don't mean send it to your.
That's why I say Pinterest, because okay, go ahead.
I mean, you can send the picture to your Grammy, but it's Instagram. But yeah, so. What happens is that the seedling will grow out of you basically use all the nutrients in that tiny little mini container, and also it can grow fast, so you would have to replant it. Now, if you want to do that and you want to start your seeds that way, know that you should have to replant them. Right.
So that being said, that's just something that we could do 2 hours on garden methods or bad social media gardening tips. Well, Holly, soon it'll be warming up, and you will want to make sure you enjoy your yard without sharing them with beetles and grubs. And phylum is the way to do it.
With spring just around the corner, or technically it's here now, it's time to start thinking about the beetles. and grubs in your garden or your yard.
Grub Gone can be applied directly to the turf or garden around ornamentals and to control those grubs and lessen the impact that the beetles have on your yard this summer. Easy to use. Apply with a commercial spreader or irrigate it right into the soil. Biologically, specifically targeted for grubs and beetles and invaders without harming those beneficial insects such as bees, butterflies, and ladybugs.
And it's the only non-chemical that works. You can find out more at phyllombioproducts.com. That's PHYLLOM bioproducts.com.
Hang out with us. New author Ashile Thomas will be with us right after this. You're tuned in to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show.
Have a garden question? Give Joey and Holly a call now or anytime 24/7. Just dial 1-800-927-SHOW. If you can't get through, leave a message and they will call you back. Call now 1-800-927-SHOW.
Pomona's Universal Pectin is a high-quality pectin that gels reliably with low amounts of any sweetener. If you're trying to reduce the amount of sugar in your diet, you'll love Pomona's Universal Pectin. Now you can make healthy homemade jams and jellies sweetened to your taste. You can use sugar or honey to sweeten. Pomona's Universal Pectin keeps indefinitely when stored in an airtight container. Easy to use, versatile, and comes with directions and recipes in every box. Find out more and where to buy at PomonaPectin.com. Also available at natural food stores and online. Are you bugged by bugs? You need naturally green products, No More Bugs, environmentally friendly, made in the USA. No More Bugs is a cedar blend that repels and eliminates mosquitoes, ticks, fleas, roaches, ants, and more. No More Bugs is safe for you, your pets, and plants. Visit nomorebugs.net for free shipping on orders over $50. Use code FREESHIP4ME.
Jung Seed Company is a family-owned and operated gardening company since 1907 with the largest selection of seeds and plants online. Use coupon code 10TG23 to receive 10% off your order at jungseeds.com. Again, that coupon code is 10TG23.
Make watering easy. DripWorks provides quality drip irrigation supplies and equipment to gardeners just like you for all your growing needs across the U.S. and Canada. Purchase online at dripworks.com.
We know that you appreciate the value of a beautifully landscaped yard, but tackling such a project yourself can seem way too complicated, right? Bloomin' Easy Plants are the answer. Their plants are low maintenance and offer exceptional beauty and color for your yard. Plus, they offer free seasonal care reminders with simple how-to videos tailored to the plants that you choose. With Bloomin' Easy on your side, creating the yard that you've always wanted becomes as easy as plant, water, and relax. Check them out at your local garden center or by visiting bloomineasyplants.com.
Mantis tillers, the premium long-lasting gas-powered tillers, are the perfect solution for any garden. This Mantis machine is available with 2 or 4 cycle engines with a 19-inch or 16-inch tilling width. Your DIY companion in your garden and your lawn converts easily for edging, aerating, and more with optional attachments. Find details at mantis.com. Head into Fleet Farm where you'll find everything you need. From tires to tree stands, drills to dog food, toys to tools, they've got it all. You can save even more at Fleet Farm when you join the Fleet Rewards loyalty program. You get exclusive offers and it's free to sign up. Get everything you need at a low fleet price. Shop in store or online today at Fleet Farm.
The Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show is brought to you by the following: Chapin Manufacturing Incorporated, Aqua-Mart, Soil Savvy, Wind River Chimes, Wisconsin Greenhouse Company, Pro Plugger, Deer Defeat, Dripping Springs Oyas, Phylum Bioproducts. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support. Welcome back to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show. Moments away, Ashile Thomas, new author, will be with us. But first, a word from our good friends at Rise Garden.
Rise Gardens is a revolutionary hydroponic gardening system for your home. Instead of food traveling hundreds or even over 1,000 miles before it hits your plate, harvest the veggies, herbs, and greens you need for dinner tonight in the comfort of your home. No green thumb required knowledge. Gardening made easy with the Rise Gardens app. Step-by-step guidance from seed to harvest. A complete garden on a shelf and comes with everything you need to grow healthy and the freshest food for you and your loved ones. Fully customizable with your garden to your needs and preferences. For more information and get your Rise Garden, visit risegardens.com.
Holly, let's go to the hotline and bring in our guest for this week.
Ashile Thomas is a columnist, author, and food security and home gardening advocate known on social media as the Mocha Gardener. Her book, How to Become a Gardener, Find Empowerment in Creating Your Own Food Security, came out just a few months ago. Welcome to the program, Ashile.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure to chat with you guys tonight.
Well, we are excited to have you on, as we know that we're going to learn from you, and you will teach not only us but all of our listeners.
I appreciate that, and I'm sure I'm going to learn from you guys too. Thank you.
So what is food security and food empowerment?
Yeah, so that's a really great question, because we often hear those terms thrown around, right? So I will say that one is a bit more structured in its definition than the other one, and that's food security. By the official definition, and this was actually created by the United Nations, the Committee on World Food Security. It's simply, it exists when all people at all times have physical and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious foods that meet their dietary needs and preferences for an active, healthy life. And I know that sounds like so much, but it's very important that all of these needs be met in a person's diet. And then if there's food empowerment, which of course does not have a set or really a universal definition, but if I had to describe this concept, it's really just kind of recognizing the power and the autonomy that individuals, you and me, that we should have around our food choices. But there's also this component where we as a community or society can really foster greater respect and consideration for people's food preferences. And we can do so with compassion while also educating and encouraging and improving access to the foods they need to not just survive, but to thrive.
Well, what led you on to this food security journey? Was there an aha moment or something that as you grew up you saw that this is where you needed to be?
I think that there's a little bit of both. There was me growing up seeing and understanding what food security or food insecurity was. I didn't know that there was a term for it at the time. I just knew that, hey, we've got an issue with the quality of foods that we're experiencing. And I really started to recognize this, in my late teens, early 20s, all the way to like my 30s. And then I had what you call an aha moment in my mid 20s where I said, I think that diet and what we eat is really determining, the quality of life that we're living. And that was when I really kind of set out on this quest to eat better. But I kind of combined that with my love for nature, the environment, and of course a little story that I have in my book on gardening and how I got into gardening to really incorporate all of those things to really gain access to the foods that we need.
And as we all get older, we realize, whether we want to admit it or not, the potato chips that we ate at 18 or 20, it's not so bad. They have more of a dangerous effect on us when we're 38, 42, 50.
Yeah, especially if we're eating it every day.
Right.
So I will say, me studying nutrition, I'm not one to say, hey, don't eat the potato chips at all, because sometimes we get a craving for it. But if we find ourselves eating it only in an abundance, too much, or where we're overindulging, that's where we start to see some challenges.
Absolutely. And I think
as Holly points at me,
I think that I know I personally strive to eat a variety of foods, and sometimes I have to encourage Joey to do the same. So your book, How to Become a Gardener, Finding Empowerment and Creating Your Own Food Security, looks like a great book. Mm-hmm. Tell us something unique or interesting about it to encourage our listeners to pick up a copy.
Yeah. So I know I like what you just did, Holly. You talked about encouraging Joey, and really that's ultimately what we're all trying to do, being mindful of everyone's choices, and we're all on this walk of wellness together. Everyone is trying. I'm trying too. So in my book, I speak about not just learning how to garden, but really how to become the person that cultivates these spaces, whether it be, the green spaces or the spaces within your community or in your homes, that ultimately fosters greater wellness. So how to become a gardener is a gentle guide where if you could imagine walking with me through my garden and gardens of many other gardeners, and how we got on this journey, what food means to us, what gardening means to us, what does it mean to be a gardener, and helping others to understand that none of us are born with a green thumb. We cultivate it, we grow it, and we develop it over time. So I think it's a good read, especially with bringing some of these, tough concepts like food security, food empowerment. I think that it's something that will resonate with everyone, because I don't know about y'all, but I love food, and we all need food to survive. Yeah?
Yes, yes.
I couldn't agree more. I am curious. I know I saw on your Instagram that you showed your grandparents that they were in your book. Were they involved with your gardening journey? Is that how you got into gardening, or did they inspire that book somehow?
Oh, yeah. So my grandfather was a farmer in South Carolina, and as they aged, they stopped farming, but he always maintained a small garden and just like to grow little produce items, but it wasn't enough food to really provide the nourishment that we needed in our household, especially where we were located, which was a rural community. And so, I kind of watched my grandfather, do this garden, and he's growing foods. And I was like, wait, this is the aha moment, Joey,
right, when
I said, wait a minute, you mean to tell me we can grow in abundance all types of foods just like this? And so that's when it dawned on me that if we don't have access to the foods that we need, why not be empowered to create access using whatever space we have? And it's not the solution to everything, but I found that it brought back power to the individual. And my grandparents, we are all now, my family and I, we moved up to North Carolina. We moved them up to North Carolina as well. And they've been a very active part of, learning some of the organic practices of gardening that I've been, kind of showing them. And of course, I gleaned wisdom from my grandfather, because, that's my grandpa.
Right.
He's got so many years of experience to share. But it's also been a wellness journey for them and understanding foods from a totally different light. So, they were just here this evening helping me prepare for the spring garden. So, yes, they've been a very active component in our garden journey and an inspiration for me.
And I'm sure your grandparents are much like many of the grandparents that are listening, or of the grandparents of people who are listening. They can grow and bake things that we just cannot do.
Listen, they just know stuff.
Yes.
So my grandfather just knows things, and he did not have formal education in horticulture. He learned this,
right,
just through experience, and that is invaluable. I think it's really just me recognizing my role as a granddaughter. There's always something that I can learn, and he drops gems and little life wisdoms for me and my husband every day, or every time we're in the garden. So I cherish those moments with him.
Yeah, you got to absorb it, because you just don't know when that time is no longer going to be with you, and you got to cherish it.
Exactly.
Well, what do you feel, in your opinion, is a common hurdle that stops, or hurdles that stop many people from gardening, and how can they get over that hurdle to get them to garden?
Yeah. So I think there might be two things. Either for the new and experienced, I fall in between, like veteran and new, because I still have so many years to learn. I will never know everything. But I think that there is this element of not being as productive or as successful as you thought you would be. And then for the veterans, just experiencing challenges that just knocked you off your growing game and just not meeting expectations. So I think to both of those, those groups, I say, start small. Start within your means, and just recognize that nature is uncontrollable. So we're all going to get disappointed at some point, but it's in the disappointments that it builds character, and it offers us an opportunity to learn more about what's around us, our environment, the organisms within the environment. So never give up. And even if you have to stop or take a pause, that's okay. Be gentle with yourself. And, don't look at what's in your own means, not necessarily the means of everyone else around you.
Well, successes are easy. We all joy in successes. It's that disappointments is those life learning moments that we can't achieve any other way.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
You have been getting sap from maple trees. If somebody does want to try that process, is there anything you would recommend to get them started, and something that they might want to consider before they run down to the maple sap supply store?
I'm so glad you said that about the maple sap supply store. I will say nature provides us with so many opportunities to learn and explore. So long as we have a mindset to research and be helpful and beneficial, not harmful to nature. So for me, I have to say I am not a maple sap tapping expert at all. I actually don't. I don't live in a climate where we can do it quite frequently. But if you live in a climate that experiences, seasons of freezing temperatures, you might be in luck. I definitely recommend maybe exploring your extension sites or agricultural sites, local agricultural sites, to really get some advice on the types of trees in your areas in which you can tap. So there is a window of time where you can tap the trees, and it's typically between mid-February and mid-March. I happen to tap my trees in mid-February. So if you are in, like a colder climate right now, you might still have a quick opportunity to try this. But some of the trees that you really want to maybe explore is, pretty much all of the species of the maple trees. They're nice and sugary. And, you want to make sure that you're doing this when there's a consistent phase where the temperatures drop below freezing at night and above freezing, say around 45 to 50 degrees during the day. And that's really to concentrate the sugars within the trees. There's a science to it. I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but just know that it's really cool how trees produce this sap. And then lastly, I will say that, you want to make sure that you're pasteurizing it or boiling the sap before you consume it, because like anything outdoors, there could be pathogens that, harmful pathogens that could be transferred through the trees to your containers. And then you can store it, make sure you refrigerate it. So it's a fun activity. I love to do this with my little nieces and nephews, and everyone really enjoys it. And it's a lot of nutrition from nature. Just another source of nutritious food.
Absolutely. Well, Ashley, greatly appreciate the time you've offered Holly, myself, and our listeners. How can people find your book and find out more information about you?
Yes. So How to Become a Gardener, Find Empowerment in Creating Your Own Food Security can be purchased on all major retailers all around the world. You can go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, bookstore.org, I think. So really just, you can look in those locations. And also, I welcome you to follow me on all social media platforms, primarily Instagram and Facebook at The Mocha Gardener. I love to chat with people, so feel free to, send me a message or email me at the.mocha.gardener@gmail.com. Thank you guys so much.
Absolutely. We thank you for your time. And when we come back, it's your garden questions, our garden answers. You are listening to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show.
Got a question for Joey and Holly? Send it via email anytime to gardentalkradio@gmail.com.
Garden like a pro in 3 easy steps and receive customized fertilizer recommendations for your garden or lawn. Soil Savvy helps you determine what nutrients your plants need to thrive. Never again over-apply nutrients they don't need. A patented process that makes you a smart gardener. To get your soil test kit, go to mysoilsavvy.com. Aqua-mart.com has everything you need for eye-pleasing outdoor water features on your property. For over 25 years, we've been creating and field testing beautiful water features in order to provide you with the most reliable products and best value in the industry. From easy-to-install pond and water fill kits to pumps, fish food, and more, you'll find everything you need to install and maintain a naturally balanced water feature in your yard. Make your backyard a true oasis and maintain it well. Visit aqua-mart.com to shop for all your needs.
Spring, the season of renewal, an unexpected house guest, none the worse perhaps than ants. And I'm not talking about great Aunt Mabel. When you need to get rid of ants fast, you need Rescue Ant Baits. Rescue Ant Baits are pre-baited, child-resistant, and ready to use right out of the box. No sticky liquid, no mess. Made in the USA by the makers of the popular Rescue Fly and Yellow Jacket traps. Learn more at rescue.com. That's rescue.com. Going on vacation and can't find a plant sitter? Check out Tree Diaper. It can provide perfect soil moisture for plants for weeks, even months. Use coupon code GARDEN15 to save 15% off at treediaper.com. Chapin has the tools for planting your garden and keeping it growing all season long. Whether your garden is big or small, Chapin has sprayers and spreaders for fertilizing, weed, and pest control, watering, and seeding. You can find Chapin products at your local hardware store, big box retailer. You may visit them also online at chapinmfg.com to learn more and buy online.
When I commit to someone, I want them to commit back to me for, life. That's why I love Verlo mattress. When you buy a Verlo, you get something nobody else offers, a commitment to helping you love your sleep for as long as you own your mattress with a lifetime comfort guarantee. Those other places, you get a measly 60, 90, maybe 120 nights. Not even close, guys. Wake up, sleep better. Verlo.
The Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show is brought to you by the following: Happy Leaf LED, Root Maker, Jung Seeds, Tree Hugger Sprinklers, Verlo Mattresses, Farmer's Defense, Pomona Universal Pectin, Natural Green Products, Mantis Tillers. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support. Welcome back to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show. Time for your questions, our answers. Thank you for being part of the program today. Much appreciate that. If you got a question you want to send it on over, you can do that to gardentalkradio@gmail.com. Email address, gardentalkradio@gmail.com. You can send that over anytime, and you can also give us a call anytime, 24/7 at 1-800-927-SHOW, 1-800-927-7469. If we can't get to you, we will leave a message, and we will get back to you with the answer to your question.
So this question is sponsored by Fleet Farm and fleetfarm.com.
All right.
Can I plant store-bought potatoes that sprout inside, or is this not advised?
You can grow and plant sprouted potatoes that are in your cupboard or wherever they're at in your house. You want to be aware that you want the soil to be no colder than 50 degrees. You can get 45, but 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Consistent, and no warmer than 85 degrees Fahrenheit, otherwise the potatoes will shut down. It is advised that you find out the variety of those potatoes in order to kind of give you an idea of how long it's going to take for them to grow, whether they're short season, mid-season, or long season variety potatoes, 70 to 80 up to 130 days. Typically the fingerlings are the longer varieties. And if they are long sprouted, let's say they're 3, 4, 5, 6 inches long sprouted, do not break that sprout off. Plant it in the ground in its full length capacity, because if you break that off, the potato has to go in a reset mode and try to regenerate a new growth in order to start growing a potato plant, in order to make the roots and all that. So leave the sprouts intact, either whole potatoes, or you can divide them up and have them the size of a chicken egg with at least 1 to 2 sprouts per piece. So there you go. I've never done raised beds before, and I want to do them this year. This one's for you, Holly. What is the best thing to put in the bottom of them, or should I just put the soil in and start planting?
Just go into your attic. Just grab, no. Okay, so seriously, unless you have rodents that you know of. So whether it be groundhogs, moles, voles, those type of things, the little rodents that would cause harm to the roots of your vegetables, you can use hardware cloth for that. If you don't have that issue, maybe you don't know if you have that issue, but you want to err on the side of caution, you can use hardware cloth for that.
You're going to nail it to the bottom of that raised bed.
Yeah. Otherwise, you can just take cardboard, whatever old cardboard. You might have that in your attic, whatever old cardboard you have from shipping boxes and whatnot. Layer that.
If you don't have shipping boxes or ordered boxes that come in the blue truck, congratulations.
Do we have some?
Oh yeah, but people may say, "Do we take the labels off or leave the tape? Take the tape?
You can
throw it in the bottom."
Especially,
it doesn't really matter.
A lot of those have now that biodegradable.
But it's so much of a hassle. Just throw it in there, and if you end up getting it surface, throw it away. Then at that point. Yeah.
So all you do is you just layer that down there, just a nice layer.
2 layers.
Two layers. Put your soil on there, and you are good to go.
Yep. People will say, "Oh, put some hardware cloth or not a weed barrier down there."
Yeah.
Don't do that, because you got to have interaction with the native worms coming into the raised bed. You got to have some. You can't just create a barrier. Now, if you're doing it on a hard surface like a concrete driveway or something, that is a totally different type of. Then you can't have. You don't have that option. So, all right. Let's see. I started peppers in January. They're already flowering. Good-sized pepper plants. It's fun, but what should I do? Should I cut the flowers off and wait until I plant them and let them grow, or just let them be and let them do their thing?
You want to cut the flowers off, and you want to keep cutting them off until...
Not going to hurt the plant.
It's not going to hurt the plant. It's not going to stunt its growth. Keeping the flowers on will stunt its growth. So you want to just cut the flowers off, plant it, let it do its thing once it's outside. But right now, you want to have it focus its production on growing and not fruiting.
Well, it's good that when you cut the flowers off, it's going to stimulate more growth, more bushiness, more leaf structure, and the healthier, happier, bushier plant you got, the better you're going to be whenever you get that thing hardened off and get it in the ground. All right, I saw the power company cut down power poles, and I asked them if I could have one, and they cut it to the length I required, but my brother said I should not use it for my garden because it contains chemicals that are poisonous. What can you tell me?
No, you don't want to use that.
Not for the edible garden.
Not for the edible garden. So they are, they're very durable. They're going to last basically forever. They've been treated with creosote.
And other things. None of us can pronounce.
Who knows what.
Right.
But you don't want to use it for the vegetable garden. You can use it to build something with outside. Maybe you want to use it to build a little shed or greenhouse.
We used them for a corner post on the farm.
Okay.
And they are still there to this day. And I helped put them in 30 plus years ago.
I didn't even know this was a thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, you want to make sure that it's
you don't know many things on the farm was a thing. You're a city girl. You're a city girl.
I didn't know.
Yeah,
that
when the power company would come through and take down the old power poles to put new ones in, we would take them
like the wood ones.
Yeah.
Oh.
They would replace them, and then we have stacks of them that we would cut into specific lengths for corner posts. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. There you go.
I know that nobody
the
came
more
to
you
cut
know.
down power lines in my neighborhood, and if they did, we weren't like, "Hey, can we get a?"
You were calling the power
chunk of it?
company because the power was out.
Yeah.
Okay, back to this. You can use them for structures, but don't use them for edible landscape. You can paint them. You can do a lot of different things, but there's too much chemicals. This is what the old treated lumber used to be in the 90s with that creosote in it. Now that it's moved to a copper fungicide, some people may still think as a treated wood that is toxic, but that's a whole conversation we've had before on the program where we feel it's not dangerous.
I got a vegetable joke.
Okay.
What did the tomato say to the mushroom?
I don't know.
After their first date?
I don't know.
I really like going out with you because you're such a fun guy.
Uh-huh.
Ching. More jokes.
Okay. I considered putting my...
Somebody's laughing.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We got to get through questions here. I am considering putting my pollinator garden next to my vegetable garden. Do you think that is a good idea or bad one?
First of all, they said, do y'all think?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
and yeah, they will benefit your garden vegetable.
Location, though.
Vegetable garden. Yeah.
The location. Let's not put it beside the vegetable garden. Let's try to get it incorporated into the center focus of the vegetable garden, so that all the insects have to go over all the vegetables that are flowering. and the bees and the butterflies and everything, and they will pollinate those. And then if they get to the center portion of the
Right.
lure them in.
Okay, but
Yeah.
they might be planting that pollinator garden because they like how it looks.
Well, true.
So then maybe they can plant some
Correct.
outside of the garden, like next to it.
But you understand-
And then some, that makes sense. I'm just saying that there's no harm in planting it next to it.
Correct.
But that is a good concept to plant it in the middle.
All right, yes. First year starting tomatoes from seed. I just planted from seedlings to pots, to larger pots. Is there a specific mild liquid fertilizer that someone can recommend? Now, whenever we you don't necessarily need to use a liquid fertilizer. Mm-hmm. If you're using a potting mix that contains a slow release fertilizer, that is key. If you're just using, or compost, we do a compost potting soil mix when we plant our seedlings. But if you do choose, if you're using maybe like you're growing them in peat pellets, which have no nutrient value, you do want to fertilize them with some type of liquid fertilizer. Whatever you're using, use quarter the strength of what the container says. Now, if you're using a compost tea that you've made yourself, don't worry about the strength. It is organic. The plants will absorb whatever it needs, and it won't harm the plants or won't make the plants dependent. The problem with the liquid fertilizer, Holly, is that a lot of times that fertilizer makes the plant dependent on that regular feed, and then you have essentially a plant that is addicted to a certain type of fertilizer that, if not fed regularly, it will start to react negatively towards the lack of that fertilizer. So you want to be able to, I would go compost tea, a natural organic fertilizer, liquid fertilizer. Most times you're not going to need it if you're growing in standard potting soil or compost mix that has some type of slow release fertilizer. You're going to be fine. And not only just for the tomatoes, but for your eggplants, your peppers, your brassicas, all of those things. If you up pot them. You can make your own decision, but we've never fertilized purposely for the reason of our plants are lacking nutrients because we are using good materials to start them in initially. So with that being said, we are out of time, Holly, and we thank you for yours. Miss any portion of the program or would like to revisit it, you can certainly do that by going to our website. Parent website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, and clicking on the Season 7 tab at the top of the page. Or you can send us an email to gardentalkradio@gmail.com, and we will send you a link to this show. Tune in to next week's program. Tune in next week to the program where we'll be going over perennials for your garden, as well as the basis and 101 and the whole thing about container gardening. And our guest is Tori Gatatone, and author, and we will answer your garden questions. So until next week, for
Holly Baird,
I'm Joey Baird, and we will see you in the garden.